are Savage Orcs, Anygun patch 6.0.3. Now, not everyone's used Savage Orcs, and some of you may have played in parts of the map where they're pretty rare except for randomly spawning tribes. So let's go over their advantages for the industrious greenskin player. They're not so hard to figure out in a sense, but it's important to get a feel for their brutality. Recruited for 550 gold and 138 upkeep, substantially more than typical line infantry. On Ultra, you get 120 very savage orcs with 9,720 health between them for 81 health each. Armor is 0, but Warpaint and Pagan Faith gets them 25% physical resistance. Yes, more physical resistance than those malevolent tree spirits get. Leadership of 60 isn't super high at all, speed of 37 and charge speed of 44 suit armorless savages well. Melee attack begins at 30 base with an attack interval of 4.3. The first is a little substandard, the second is okay. There is no splash damage. Melee defense of 20 is pretty low. It's lower than skeleton warriors. Weapon strength 35, on the other hand, is split between base 26 and armor piercing 9, and that's substantially better than standard line infantry strength, and the consistent armor piercing is valuable. Charge bonus of 26 is very decent, quite high for infantry generally, and mass of 140 is shockingly heavy. And that's not all. Not only can this unit hide in forest, don't laugh, it matters when hiding from towers on certain maps, the unit has Frenzy, which means melee attack plus 10 to 40, weapon strength and charge bonus up 10% too, at least until routed, broken, and heading for the Badlands Hills. In the redline skills, the boys is what we rely on because these are still orc infantry, so with 3 pips, plus 6 melee attack and plus 12% weapon strength, making the savage savager. Ard Lads gives rank 7 savage orcs 12 armor they did not have before, plus 5 melee defense and 8% ward save, giving them extra resilience, as if they didn't have enough, because they really don't. In the tech tree, Eager to Fight grants melee attack plus 3 and leadership plus 5, further addressing critical needs. Heavy Metal grants plus 10 armor and plus 5% weapon strength. And when you don't have any armor to start, well, think of it as a random 5 to 10% physical resistance that only applies to base damage. It'll still help a lot if it's adding to what you had before, provided the enemy's not using magical attacks. And if the enemy is, you'll want the armor anyway. The rest is scrap upgrades, and the unlockable ones are split between Scavenging Gits and Spoils of War. The one that's specific to the Bloody Hands, Wizag's faction, and that faction only so Confederation doesn't help, is the Idol of Gork, and this has been radically reworked, 50 scrap default. With this upgrade, stuff struck by the Savage Orcs has magical resistance lowered, the term in the text, and erases magical attack temporarily. In Warhammer 3, magical attack is an otherwise physical attack that ignores physical resistance. It is in no way spell damage. So this isn't increasing magical attack, melee, or ranged damage on foes. It does make them more vulnerable to big wasp spells if, say, you're fighting dwarves. The dampening effect removes, in melee only, one of the biggest threats to the Savage Orc unit, but don't trust it too far against Hammerers. They're still really armored and hit hard. They'll just hit a little less hard than they otherwise would, and that's good for the Savage Orcs. The regular one requiring no unlock is Ivory Arm Guards, offering armor plus 5 and melee defense plus 3 for a paltry 20 scrap if that's your first upgrade. The one from Scavenging Gits is Liquor Flasks, offering leadership plus 15, which is a lot of liquid courage, and physical resistance plus 5%. That last part seems new and is on top of what Savage Orcs got before. Spoils of War allows for bigger sticks, which gives plus 6 bonus versus large, increasing melee attack and weapon strength proportionally. Suffice to say, this is enough to rip, tear, and sever lightly armored cavalry like most Centaur and Yeoman options, though it's meant to be used on engaged enemies since there's no charge defense or charge reflection. It's not a spear unit, duh. Also, the relevant upgrade seems to have been plus 10 at one point, but fine. Plus 6 is plenty to be a significant boost for a non-specialized anti-large unit. So how do we use Savage Orcs? Well, we use them like we used to use Gore Herd, that's how. Aim to make contact with the enemy line at all costs. Ignore non-magical attacks aimed at you. If you have suitable meat shields to precede the Savage Orcs, by all means use them. Try to maximize your potential, your WA, and so on and so forth, and please don't magically nuke your own troops, it'll really hurt. Basically, magical bombardments are the Achilles heel of this unit, but short of that, they really are far superior in melee to a lot of offerings. Savage tribes with basically nothing but these are one note, but mixed tactically with sturdier stuff, they can be very scary. and you really do want them slipping through cracks and getting through to squishy. Just remember that actual cast spells doing magical damage will bypass physical resistance, and missile resistance won't apply to bombardments. I haven't asked about if they affect magic missiles. You tell me. Point is, for a spammable melee unit, the upside is quite high, and until you're facing really serious armor, you're competitive against a lot of forces, with these scrap upgrades really helping. In the end, just keep in mind they're fanatics that aren't unbreakable. You need to treat them as a little fragile, but also as weapons to be hurled at the enemy like a Doom Diver in Orc form. So hurl away. Take care and have fun inflicting untold savagery upon your tidy, organized foes. It's untold if there's no survivors left to tell of it.